President Nixon realized that there was nowhere to go in Vietnam except to get out. And so he started to live up to his promise, and he started to pull out American troops in Vietnam. And he wanted to make sure that he faced re-election himself in 1972. And so he was going to live up to that promise, and he did. He started to pull out American troops in Vietnam and in 1971 and 1972, and we finally left Vietnam in 1973. And we finally left Vietnam in 1973, leaving South Vietnam to fend for themselves. And so we left Vietnam, and the prospect of South Vietnam defending their country successfully was looking dire, as North Vietnam now had a large support of people ready to fight against the South. And that actually included some South Vietnamese. Now, that's a scary thought, because many South Vietnamese were sick of this. They were sick of the war. They were sick of the devastation. They just wanted this over with. And so during this time, between 1973 and 1975, the North Vietnamese was able to take a full control of South Vietnam. And this got concluded with the Fall of Saigon, the South Vietnamese capital. Now, many in South Vietnam did support the United States, though, and they were afraid of communist rule, and they were trying to get out of the capital. In fact, this was captured by many news groups and by many photos of the pure chaos that was occurring in South Vietnam, trying to get on helicopters to try to escape the city. And so South Vietnam, once it fell on April 30th, 1975, North Vietnam took full control of the entire country. And so once Saigon fell, South Vietnam no longer existed. The North Vietnamese were able to get South Vietnamese leadership and government officials and start to re-educate them and get them ready for a communist society. So Vietnam was unified. There was no longer a North and South Vietnam. It is now just Vietnam as a whole, even as it is today. But it is now a communist society. The capital, Saigon, actually no longer exists in that name. It is unofficially called Saigon once in a while, but the city is actually named Ho Chi Minh City. The city got renamed. It is actually a beautiful city. It is actually a fairly modern city, and Ho Chi Minh City is the biggest city in Vietnam today. Now, what's amazing about Vietnam, and you could say that the United States lost this war, as clearly South Vietnam no longer exists. Vietnam is now a communist society. But as the years went on, Vietnam and the United States now have a cooperation with each other, and Vietnam is now considered one of our allies.